Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Supergirl movie. DC news, DC movie news, as well as some Superman Legacy updates as well. So it was finally confirmed, even though we weren't waiting like too long. It was like a week and a half, 2 weeks or something after the initial reports, and then now. But it's finally confirmed at the very least, even after a short break, that Millie Alcock is Supergirl in the DCU and will reportedly first show up in Superman Legacy, though there is chatter that she could appear in something else other than that first, rather than Superman Legacy, before the solo Supergirl film, that of course being entitled Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Now, I don't think James Gunn has confirmed that she is in Superman Legacy at this stage, like he hasn't tweeted it out, but all signs point to that being the case based off the casting and then being like, what, 5-6 weeks away from the start of filming for Superman, and then a bunch of different outlets are saying that's the case, though I think it was the Hollywood Reporter that said that they've heard that maybe it's something else, but that's just maybe something that's there, and they didn't really stick on it too much. They just sort of put it in, put it out there that they've heard it, but didn't really like say it's like 100%. And it does seem like Superman Legacy is where she's showing up, and all signs, point to that. But yeah, Millie Alcock, Aussie girl from Australia. She actually grew up and went to school only I think 10-15 minutes away from where I grew up in Sydney, which is pretty crazy. But she was clearly the best choice out of the three ones that were put out there. I know there was some fighting later on for that Meg Donnelly, but it was I don't know, like Michael Phelps in the Olympics. Like everyone else was just battling for silver and bronze. Millie was always getting that gold. And James Gunn pretty much showed the possible bias in the audition process, and that everyone else was just there to see if his initial thinking was correct, as Gunn did say that he envisioned Millie as his Supergirl in the DCU while watching House of the Dragon last year, early last year, and the whole audition and casting process just really confirmed the visions that he was having. Now, in regards to the full cast for Superman Legacy now, we got this thing from the Wrap, which is the major players. Now, of course, there could be or will be minor random roles, but there also are some ones of note that I'd assume would be in the movie, but also haven't really been talked about too much. But just because we know the Daily Planet's being involved, you'd assume some things here. We know the Fortress of Solitude's in place, or some other things here. So maybe outside of maybe Jor-El, Perry White, and maybe Martha Kent if she's still alive, you wouldn't expect any other major announcements outside of the names that are here. And those roles could be, really kept secret until the movie actually comes out, as they could be bigger actors with just a small role of note that are filmed in a studio in a green screen thing, which, doesn't leak anything like that, but that's a wait and see. But yeah, you can see all the names of note here. We've seen all these before. There's nothing really that new, unless you didn't know that Metamorpho was called Rex Mason and that the engineer was called Angela Spiker or Spacer. I'm not too sure, whichever way it is. But as you can see, right down the bottom, the newest addition, Kara Zor-El / Supergirl, played by Millie Alcock. There's been talk of whether she's going to be called Kara Danvers or not. It really depends on what her story is. I'd assume that she's just going to be Kara Zor-El and maybe doesn't have a human name or an Earth name at this point, at least a surname. So yeah, Kara Zor-El at this point might be Danvers. We'll wait and see. Now, in the audition process for Supergirl, according to Variety, I think it was that said this, they noted that Gunn wanted to steer clear specifically from the version of Supergirl that we saw in the CW Supergirl series, who, with they want this Millie Alcock version to be more edgy, and in regards to the Supergirl thing, they want their version of Supergirl to be less earnest than what we saw with the CW Supergirl series. And the CW show Supergirl was more of more in the vein of Clark Kent. It was almost like a gender bent Clark Kent for the most part. Came at a fairly young age, grew up with an Earth family, everything like that. While Supergirl's not really meant to be like that, but I understand why the CW Supergirl series did that, because just for character building and stuff like that. And it has been said that their look on this DCU Supergirl that Millie Alcock will play is that she'll have a bit of a punk rock edge to her, if you want to put it. And I think Millie will be able to do that without really too much effort, to be completely honest. But when you say that it's going to have a bit of a punk rock edge to it, the soundtrack better be full of some punk rock. I want some, I don't know, whether you go with modern pop punk or you put some Ramones or stuff like that, I don't know. But it better have some punk music in there if you're going to describe the characters having a bit of a punk rock edge to her. But when it comes to the film itself that is coming out after Superman Legacy, whenever that is, featuring Supergirl as the lead, that of course being Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, this is what Gunn previously said about that project and how it differs to previous iterations. This is a very different type of Supergirl. In our film, we see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from, the time he's an infant, versus Supergirl, who was raised on a rock chip off of Krypton and watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then came to Earth when she was a young girl and is much more hardcore. She's not exactly the Supergirl we're used to seeing. Now, that description really makes you understand why they are going with a punky edge to the character. Like, she saw her planet die when she was younger. She experienced all that, but this also means she did live on Argo City, as Gunn references that rock chip off off Krypton. Of Krypton. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one. But yeah, Argo City, so they're going with like a complete origin, if you want to put it. She's not leaving Krypton. She's on Argo City. She's protected within there when Krypton explodes, and then she'll leave Argo City whenever that happens. So one would assume that's maybe where we start the film, but I don't know if that's going to be the exact case, because it has been reported that the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow film could start filming by the end of the year if they lock down a director in time. Some have said that it could be harder to get a director because they didn't get to cast Supergirl. It was James Gunn who did the casting, but we don't know if Gunn and Safran have been in talks with possible directors and sort of kept them in the loop and kept them up to date with casting options, and that, they're maybe going to go this way, and if that director was interested in that actor and everything like that. And most of the possible director choices could be in favor of Millie Alcock in the role. So now that director selection process could be narrowing in. I mean, I think we will probably get a director announcement for that in the next 2 weeks to a month. I don't think they'd hold off on it too long. It's just about the finer details. But speaking of the film, the inspiration, we know that the movie is based off the comic of the same name, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, but based off what has recently been said by James Gunn, it's hard to tell how inspired it's going to be by the comic, because this is the synopsis for the comic story. Wherever she goes, people only see her through the lens of Superman's frame. Just when Supergirl thinks she's had enough, everything changes. An alien girl seeks her out for a vicious mission. Her world has been destroyed and the bad guys responsible are still out there. She wants revenge, and if Supergirl doesn't help her, she'll do it herself, whatever the cost. Now a Kryptonian, a dog, and an angry, heartbroken child head out into space on a journey that will shake them to their very core. Now, the reason I question how faithful or inspired the movie will be to the comic is that James Gunn said that Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, the film, is a sequel to Superman Legacy. It's not a prequel, and then also that it looks like it's going to be either the movie that follows on from Superman Legacy or it's the second one after it. Like, it's going to be very, very close after it. There's not going to be a 3 or 4 year gap. It's one of the, the movies that follows Superman Legacy in the next year or two after it. So that makes you wonder, where does she start in her solo film, and where do we see her in Superman Legacy if that is where her first appearance is going to be? Because if we meet her in Superman Legacy, you would assume that this is on Earth, as Gunn said that he, has said we aren't dealing with any of Superman's origin in this movie. So we're not going to Krypton and everything like that. So it wouldn't be on Krypton before Kal-El is shipped off by his parents, and we meet what would be a younger version of Kara anyway. The only thing I can think of, if we do start the Supergirl film after the events of Superman Legacy and Kara does feature in Superman Legacy, is that maybe she could appear in something from the Fortress of Solitude if they don't want to make her physically appear. But other than that, she's going to just show up maybe as Supergirl already. I don't know which way they're going to go with it. Now, I might be the one getting mixed up, but I am seeing a decent amount of people also questioning online as well, because when she goes away in the comics and does this stuff, she is Supergirl. She is Supergirl at that point. But is she Supergirl at this point on Earth? Or is has she not come out and started using her powers and Superman's the only one doing it? So maybe that could mean that this movie is set on Earth. That could be what's happening there. And then it would just have very, very similar elements to the comic series in regards to some of the things that happen. Instead of jumping planets and stuff like that, they're going into different cities or something. But then again, they might just make the leap that Kara, aka now Supergirl, just goes into outer space to explore things and then gets caught in the events that go down in the comic series, and things play pretty much like they do in the comic for the most part. Because as you would have gathered from the synopsis of the comic series, Kara has sympathy with the young alien girl, as they have similarities in their situations. Not completely tit for tat and very it's the exact same thing, but just there is some similarities there, and Kara shows a lot of sympathy around it. But if we are going to go with the intergalactic route or the cosmic route with Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and we're going to space and everything in the film like we did in the the comic series, I am sort of surprised by that, but not really put off really. Like, I think it still sounds cool. The comic's good, so I'd expect the movie to be good as well. I just thought they might stick away from the overly cosmic stuff for a bit just to build the Earth stuff up a bit. And I mainly just based that off Lanterns, which is the one you would think would like 100% be cosmic based, but we know that will be set mainly on Earth, at least from, you know, what James Gunn said initially. So, you know, it will still go to space, you'd assume, but at the core of the story and what drives it will be based on Earth. Now, things might change from what James Gunn said initially, you know, when a showrunner comes in and everything like that, and they actually start developing it properly, though it's rumored that show could start filming by the end of the year as well. But, you know, when I heard that that was going to be mostly Earth-based, I thought, okay, well, they might leave the cosmic stuff for a bit, which isn't a bad idea, because cosmic stuff can be a bit of a turn-off for some people. But regardless of what angle they decide to go with, I am very much looking forward to this Supergirl solo film, as well as just the introduction of the character in general in most likely Superman Legacy from what we know. Though, I am interested how she's introduced, as James Gunn said there are no cameos in that movie. Like, every role has a purpose and is actually represented as a character rather than just oh my god, look who it is. So I am intrigued how Supergirl is introduced in that without feeling like a cameo to some, because some people go, oh, this person is a cameo, but really they're just like a smaller role because they're in like 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 scenes. But I don't know, wait and see how it's handled. But if I had to guess, she might show up in the final third of the film and have a bit of a role there, but not sure. That's for us to wait and find out whenever the movie comes out in, what, just under 18 months from now? Bit of a wait, but hopefully it's worth it. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and everything we went over. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.